up. I want to talk to you about sleeping in Nintendo games. Because while most players seem to prefer their characters running or fighting or just generally awake, I've always found it intriguing how games handle sleeping. After all, almost every living and breathing creature needs sleep, but it's also universally agreed upon to be a pretty boring activity. So how do you make that into something compelling? The answer to that question is that you usually don't. Save for the occasional idle animation, sleeping is assumed to happen, but ignored. But Nintendo wouldn't be Nintendo if they didn't play around with the established gaming expectations once in a while, so that's left enough interesting examples for me to cover here in some big franchises. Like Kirby, for example. Ever since copy abilities have been a part of the series, starting with Kirby's Adventure on the NES, Kirby has been able to harness the power of sleep. Now, power is a generous way to put it, because this ability really does nothing at all. He puts on a cute little hat and takes a nap, that's it. The ability has been a bit of a joke ever since its introduction, but I guess that shouldn't surprise us. With how tireless Sakurai has been working on Smash over the years, it's become obvious sleep is a joke to him. But in recent years, Sleep Kirby has been having a sudden rise, now gaining actual abilities. In Kirby Battle Royale, the copy ability was included as a playable character, featuring a moveset with highlights like smacking opponents with a pillow and blowing a big bubble, based on the Japanese trope of snot bubbles when cats are sleeping. In Kirby and the Forgotten Land, an actual main series title this time around, sleep is also not useless, as it restores health while Kirby is snoozing, something it arguably should have always done. It's also given an evolved copy ability, a more powerful version, that sees Kirby sleep in an actual bed instead of on the ground like a heathen. When he wakes up, he'll have a random temporary bonus applied, like an attack or speed boost. Despite sleep being a frequently appearing copy ability, it's actually only granted by one sole enemy in the series, known as a noddy, which is a word that's been forever associated with sleeping by British English speakers. As you should expect by now, noddies don't really do anything but sleep, but the fact they're even enemies at all again shows how Sakurai views a good rest. And while Sakurai is definitely alone in that, I don't know about you, but I love sleeping. Something that is universally hated is waking up, especially by something like an alarm clock or the immediate stress of realizing you didn't set an alarm clock. What's even worse is being woken up by someone standing at your bedside, staring at you. And yet, intelligent systems consider it a must-have for Fire Emblem Engage. Here, your avatar Valir is the Divine Dragon! Basically a deity in this world, and at the start of the game, you wake up from a 1,000-year slumber during which it has apparently become totally normal for visitors to watch you sleep. The Somniel's gotta keep the lights on somehow, I suppose. Anyway, after you've woken up and become the leader of the army fighting Sombron, your character can return to their private quarters for a nap, after which one of your units will wake you up. While I have no idea why you would ever include something like that in your game, I do have to say though, it's not as bad as you might think it would be. I've never been a big fan of the whole getting cozy with your units thing of recent Fire Emblem games. We're talking about humans here after all, not pets, so I expected to dislike this feature. But the conversations are kept fairly tame, and are even pretty funny on occasion. Diamant falling asleep himself while trying to wake you, or Bunei contemplating taking a bite out of your bed for a taste are great stuff. Of course, with over 200 of these events, all fully voiced, almost like an ASMR channel by the way, there are some more standard ones as well, most of which are about how oh so special you are, while making sure you don't accidentally sleep another 1,000 years, which is fair, I guess. Regardless, I'm still not entirely sure whether to compliment the developers on this feature or not. I think they made the absolute best out of a bad idea, which is commendable, although maybe next time that effort is better spent on more supports or something like that. Whereas sleeping has only rarely been featured in games as an actual mechanic, dreams and the concept of a dream world are more common. One example of that is Mario & Luigi Dream Team, which might just be the most forgotten release of the year of Luigi. To celebrate that event, the game puts the spotlight on Luigi, albeit only slightly, with the story of the game mostly taking place inside his dreams. Using a dream portal, Mario can enter Luigi's dreams, where Peach is being held captive by the evil Phantasma, with a little help from Bowser of course. As such, this game essentially features two playable Luigis, one in the dream world and one in the real world. The real world setting of this game is also not the Mushroom Kingdom, but instead a brand new location known as PEO Island, whose inhabitants fit today's theme perfectly, seeing as how they're all based on pillows. In fact, they all have the ability to turn into pillows, allowing those who sleep on them to enter the dream world. Definitely a mechanic that can run with Fire Emblem Engage in the weird department, that one. Arguably the most important PEO is Prince Dreambird, although we never see him actually do anything of note. Which does make him an accurate depiction of a modern royal, I suppose. He mostly serves as a guide for Mario and Luigi, helping them with the weird ways of the dream world. Throughout the game, the plumbers explore PEO Island and its landmarks, whose names all reference sleep-related things. Think Mount Pajama Jaw, that kind of work. While there, the bros collect your weekly MacGuffins, which are once again sleep-related items like a mattress or feathers needed to build the Ulti Bed, a special bed that will enhance Luigi's dream abilities. As you would expect, the duo eventually triumph over evil, save Princess Peach, and restore PEO Island. And although I don't know a Nintendo game that involves in-game sleeping as much as Dream Team, who said only sleeping in-game could be turned into a mechanic. For all of you who still want to engage in gameplay while catching Z's, don't worry, Pokémon has got you covered. I'm of course referring to Pokémon Sleep, but don't be fooled, the series has long established itself as the King of Nights, Deity of Dreams, and Royal of Resting. While sleep as a status effect is rather common in RPGs, including those in Nintendo style like Xenoblade Chronicles or Earthbound, Pokémon has been treating sleeping as more than that throughout the entire course of the franchise. There's the Dream World from Gen 5, which is a story so complex I'm saving it for another time, and several Pokémon designs based on or related to sleeping, with 2 becoming so synonymous with it propelled them to a nearly iconic status. And weirdly enough, none of them is drowsy, even though his Japanese name is literally Sleep. No, the first is Jigglypuff of course, who became one of the most prominent Pokémon around during the series' early days, mostly thanks to its appearances in the anime, which later led to its inclusion in the original Super Smash Bros. I've always wondered how fans who joined with later games saw the high profile of Jigglypuff. This bang average Pokémon being a pretty famous figure in the anime and a mainstay in gaming's biggest crossover series, it must feel a little inexplicable if the rise of the Puff was before your time. Then again, there's a pretty solid chance that a large part of you watching this fall into this age category, so please share your thoughts on that. Anyway, the second sleeping related Pokémon to become a cultural icon is of course Snorlax, who for that very reason was rightly chosen to be the mascot of mobile gaming's latest sleeper hit. Pokémon Sleep was developed by Select Button, who were previously responsible for Magikarp Jump, one of the series' less successful but definitely charming mobile efforts. The developers had undoubtedly hoped to make as big a splash as Pokémon Go did in 2016, and while it definitely didn't pan out, I think the game has been decently successful, which is almost entirely the result of its novel concept. While you sleep, the game tracks your sleeping patterns by collecting data through listening to the sounds you make, as well as tracking your movements, meaning you have to put your phone on your bed during the night. In-game you raise a Snorlax, which you must feed in order to boost its drowsy power, which then attracts Pokémon to your Snorlax based on your sleeping habits. As bizarre as this concept is, it does deliver on its premise, and of course, the evergreen Pokémon sauce that has been poured all over it helps tie the whole thing together. I mean, this game's got people shiny hunting in their sleep, that's awesome. Of course, Pokémon Sleep is far from perfect, seeing as it relies pretty heavily on microtransactions, can't be a mobile game without it, and I just couldn't get past having to put my phone on my bed during the entire night while it records my cool manly snores. I guess that's a level of privacy I didn't know I valued. But anyway, I think it's time to put this video to bed. If you enjoyed hearing me ramble about Nintendo, please consider subscribing, and for now, thanks for watching, and have a good night's sleep.